of people in my distribution list because I'm at any given moment I don't know how many people are liquid and looking.
Yeah.
So it's we use that term liquid. Who's liquid and looking right now? Who's liquid meaning they have money in cash, and looking meaning they're ready. Right now I can invest the several hours it might take to look over the information and make a fast funding decision, because quite frankly in our lending market we're usually doing fairly quick loan applications or fairly quick loan fundings, meaning someone comes to us and say, I've got a short sale I'm going to buy, but it has to close in 10 days. Can you do the loan? And we'll say yes, and then we'll jump on the horn with a number of our investors, start calling around and see who can pull the trigger and make a fast
And the thing
decision.
is, you're not lending in Antarctica or anything, so you know
just Bay Area.
Yeah, Bay Area. So you know it fairly well. And people who've been listening to the show for a long time, they know we're not an infomercial.
Right.
But I'm sure people listening are going, does this cost anything to get into these loans, or does it cost anything to get on your distribution list? And the answer is no.
No, it isn't. But what I was going to go on to say, I talked about some of the guys that love 12-month loans. I've got appetites from investors that like 24-month loans. Some people like 36-month loans. Generally speaking, on the super short-term loans, you can get a slightly higher than average return. Maybe you'll get 10 or even 11% on a short-term loan, whereas if you are looking to maybe put your money to work for 2 to 3 years, generally speaking, we're offering slightly better interest rates to the borrowers. In that situation, you have your money working for you longer, and so maybe you're going to get closer to 8% on a longer term.
Okay.
So
and then some of your clients are, I only want to be in San Francisco, or
Right.
I don't want to be in San Francisco.
Exactly, or they'll lend all over the Bay Area, or but don't send me anything in Sacramento, or I love Sacramento, or Central Valley. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, so it's all over the map. And we're going to cut to our second commercial break, and we'll be right back. Catch the fly.
You want to catch fly? Or?
Catch the fly. Ooh, that was a little
Good.
Wow.
Wow.
You've got my ears on
Let it
that.
roll.
Okay, you guys ready? And away we go. Welcome, you're listening to the Best of Investing on News Talk 910. If you've been listening to our show for a while, you know it's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. For those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around the bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. And I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Today's trivia theme is, where did they come from? You'll understand when you hear the questions. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. And Robert, you had some excellent articles to discuss with us today.
Well, I had an argument with someone a couple of weeks ago about the government bailout of the auto industry, and we both realized that neither of us really had any facts as to what really happened. So
It was just a motion.
Cars for Clunkers?
Yes, yeah, Cars for Clunkers. So I've been reading a book by somebody that's in the administration and totally involved in all of it, and it's just fascinating for all the personalities that went into this and all the thought that went into it, and how big it was, and how nobody really knew what was going on and how it would end up. And
How did it end up?
Well, we're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
But,
I thought that was the end of it.
No. They were banning about the possibilities of bankruptcy for General Motors and Chryslers, and to bail them out, and whether to bail them out. And you'd spend government money, which means taxpayers' money, and then...
Yeah, but they had that back in the late 70s, early 80s, where...
Chrysler.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I remember telling my dad, I go, they're not going to let Chrysler go out of business. There's too many employees.
Well, they were very close to letting Chrysler go out of business this time. In fact, they got to the point very close that they saw the only viable way to make General Motors successful was to let Chrysler go bankrupt, or for General Motors to take over part of Chrysler. And what amazes me, one step back from all that insider information, is how suddenly, 2 years later, Chrysler was making these fabulous cars, General Motors was making fabulous cars, and apparently they are good cars and good
didn't
value.
Didn't they pay back those loans already?
Well, Ford never got a loan. Chrysler has paid back most of their loan, and General Motors hasn't, and the government owns a bunch of stock, and if it ever gets up to, I think, $35 a share, they can sell out and get their money back, but of course they couldn't sell out because then it would depreciate
Oh yeah,
the
they have too
value
many
of the-
shares of
Yes,
that.
yeah.
I wonder what percentage they own.
I think it was, well, I just saw that I think it's about 30%.
Oh
or
yeah, I mean they can't
15%.
sell 30%.
So that'd be an example of a
There's-
success story of government intervention. I mean, wouldn't it? I mean, as
Yeah.
opposed to if we got into
Well-
a conversation about bailing out the banks, I think I might have another point of view.
Well,
on
no,
that
wait a minute,
one.
because some of the
Well,
banks
that-
paid their money back too with interest, didn't they?
Well, AIG, the insurance company too, and
Yeah.
they had to act so quickly, and the ramifications, I mean, if General Motors went down, that would be, so many people would be on unemployment, so many people would lose their houses. The spread of that tidal wave would be
I mean, a
huge.
bailout to me means that money is given but not paid back. I mean, really all it was a loan.
Yes,
And
yeah.
that's okay. I mean, the government has SBA loans too.
But they were worrying that they might, it was amazing figures. General Motors and Chrysler were losing $1 billion a month. I mean, I could never figure
Pocket
out.
change.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What is it, a
Exactly.
billion here, a billion there, eventually it'll
So
be real
that-
money?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
Congress says.
Eventually, it's $1 trillion.
That's it. I'll worry when it gets to a quadrillion.
So, and then I watched the debate, and I couldn't quite figure out who was saying what by the time it was over. So,
Yeah, we had that debate this. Well, you have to read the news the next day to be told who won.
Yeah.
Because I watched it too, and it wasn't really obvious to me that anybody won. I mean, it's just, you watch the TV and their lips are moving, and it's almost like when you talk to your dog and all your dog hears is blah 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 spot, blah 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 spot.
I don't know. I was watching episodes of Father Knows Best.
Oh, that was much better timing.
I
Yeah.
just can't get
Yeah.
into.
Yeah.
Seriously, I just could not even watch these debates.
I was going
can't
to,
either.
and I could not watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's three of us saying that, and yet everybody was glued to their TV to watch what. I just didn't get it. There was nothing coming out
Well,
of that.
isn't it kind of funny too how each side, when the Democrats and the Republicans are sitting, their supporters are watching, and they're both saying, "Oh my gosh, our candidate won."
Yes.
I mean, how could it be? At least at a football game, you can kind of see the score. Maybe they should do that. They should have a tally. Like, don't they do that?
Well, they
on-
did have some kind of graph thing going
Oh,
on. I mean,
yeah.
I was at
The
a
little
hotel watching it
meter.
on CNN, and everybody in the bar, hotel, lobby thing was like glued to the TV listening to these guys, and I was half listening, but I was actually looking more at the mechanics of the on the TV screen that had this little graph thing that was different colors depending on who was measuring their
But-
responses to who
But
was talking.
unless you're wearing
Was-
EKG, you know where it's
Was
measuring.
this,
I don't
was
know
this
how it was-
from people calling in, or?
I don't know what I think. I'm sure they had a test audience that was like wired up.
Something, yeah, and as if your blood pressure boils up and that triggers it.
So that's how the unemployment got under 8%. They hired all these people to watch the debates and tweet in their responses, so they
That's
could get
right. That was the
graph.
big news of the
Yes,
week. Is
that was-
the unemployment rate
But wait,
went
I got a
down.
question about that. Do they count jobs that go to government? I mean, if the government hires a whole bunch of people now that they're not out of work and they're working,
I think they must have hired a bunch of people to see if the job rate was going to go under 8% or not.
well, like you
that's
said,
how it went,
7.8, 7.9% was manipulated, but 7.8%
Yes,
is not.
everybody knew it was going to go under 8 to 7.9, and so.
But isn't that a coincidence?
amazing?
It's at a 44-month low. It's very coincidental. It happened a month before the election.
But it is amazing that the stock market is also at a 4-year high. I mean, that must indicate something has turned around in those 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, usually the old days it used to be the stock market was ahead of the economy about 18 months. But the other thing is if you're working part-time and making much less than you used to make, you're still employed. But the problem is, how much does that affect the GDP?
Yeah.
Well, they also talk about the underemployment rate. So
Yeah,
for people
exactly.
who are working and but making considerably less, or then there's the rate that isn't measured, which is stopped looking.
They're no longer unemployed.
But,
Yeah.
but those people who stop looking, how do they live from day to day? Are they living with mom and dad, that sort of thing?
They might, or their spouse has somebody else in the family is helping support. We have someone at work, and their husband worked for Fireman's Funds for 26 years and got tapped on the shoulder one day, and he was watching it happen around. Now here's a guy in IT for 26 years, faithful to one company, and it's hard for him to find a replacement job for
After
that.
26 years, though, does he have a nice pension?
I don't think so.
Define
I don't
nice.
know.
Yeah, that's true.
One that exists. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
All right, guys, we are going to go to a first commercial break here, and the trivia.
I meant to interrupt.
ahead, go ahead.
At the beginning, you said I thought I heard you say we prevent valuable information. I'm
I
sure you meant
almost did.
present.
Yes, I almost did say that. And I
Prevent
caught
valuable
myself. Yeah, we don't worry. We don't prevent valuable information. Okay, here's our first trivia question. And again, the theme is, where did they come from? So, Steve Young from the 49ers, right? We all know that. But what NFL team did he come from? And before that, he was with the USFL. But he went to the don't say anything. He went to the NFL. And he went to a team, then he went to the 49ers. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with my co-host Mark Hoff of Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question, and again, the theme was, where did they come from? We all know Steve Young from the 49ers, but what NFL team did he come from? Gentlemen?
That'd be the Tampa Bay Bucks,
The Tampa Bay
who
Buccaneers.
were called the Tampa Bay Yucks back then because they were so terrible.
What did they start off, 0-13?
Well, I don't know if they had quite that bad, but
Oh yeah, they were back in '76. I think was when they
So-
started
So
off.
he chose to sit on the bench and learn from someone rather than be with a team that was going nowhere.
But yeah,
Smart
look at
decision.
in his case, it really was a smart decision. And really quickly here, we last week we had a special trivia contest where we
yeah.
asked. Almost 70% of these are owned by women. What are they? And
earrings.
Earrings. Actually, that probably would have been smart. No, the answer was home-based businesses. Robert, you had also some kind of interesting thing about real estate regulations.
Yes, we had notifications about I'm a mortgage broker, and we have to watch and see what different rules and regulations are coming down the pike.
You mean more coming on?
Oh,
Yeah, we don't have enough.
In addition to the 200 new
well,
ones they put
how
in?
do you think we got under 8% employment? The government hired a bunch of people to watch out to make sure
See,
the
that's why I
regulations
said how much
are
of it was
going.
private sector and how much was
yes.
government sector.
So what are they talking about now bringing on board?
Well, we got notification that they're going into mortgage brokers and mortgage banks, and not so much the big banks, and
Of course not.
doing auditing and just being what they're looking for. Not so much. This is from an insider's point of view. They're looking not so much to make sure that there aren't mistakes, as they're looking to make money for the auditing part of the government.
Oh, so
that
they're going to
can
audit you
earn
and
their
then
salary.
bill you
charge
for
you
it.
for it.
Yes.
Even though there's nothing that they're really specifically looking for or thinking you did
Well,
anything
we
wrong.
got notification that if you're working in your office, make sure that every file is in a locked cabinet.
Yeah.
And if you have to go out of your office, even to the bathroom, your office has to be locked and your computer has to be shut down.
So that in case someone just shows up,
I
they
guess
have
it's
the
privacy
authority
issues.
to...
Yes. Yeah.
Well, privacy from the government? I didn't think there was
No,
such a thing.
privacy about exposed
Privacy
social
from-
security
Oh,
numbers
oh,
or
yeah.
credit
Privacy
reports.
I thought it was in case the feds came in to
No.
make sure they don't look at your
Oh,
computer.
that's interesting. Privacy from the government.
Yeah,
That's
yes,
the-
exactly.
That's the new policy.
Well, it's
So-
sort of like in some of these counties where the fire marshal, one of the things that they did was they said, okay, you have to have a 5-year certification, make sure that the sprinklers are working. And they realized, we're not making enough money from this, so we're going to do it annually. Then they go, well, we're still not making enough money, so now they have to do it quarterly. Soon it's going to have to be hourly. I mean, you got to get those pensions up, right?
Yeah, they'll have to have well, let's see, you have more than 3 employees, so you have to have somebody from the fire department full-time with you to check and make sure that the sprinklers are working.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Robert, are you familiar with that? This week there was the article about the new banking settlement and some of the new regulations taking effect there. I read all I read was as far as 200 new regulations that are now going to be implemented for like the top big 5 banks, and that's all I could stand. My eyes just glazed over right away. I got depressed.
No, I haven't seen that, but that's very interesting because a realtor told me just about an hour and a half ago that they have a deal that's ready to close, and it's a short sale, and of course the short sales are the ones that take months and
Long.
months and months
Yeah.
and months. In fact, we all call a normal sale, we say it's a short sale, no, and then say, oh, it's going to be a quick sale.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyhow, there, after months and months and months of everybody finally getting everything approved and ready to close the deal, the seller got notification from B of A that said, oh, that $475,000 second that you have, that you're upside down on, well, we'll cancel that for you.
Wow.
They're canceling the second, which makes him underwater, and so now he's not underwater. Now he doesn't want to go through with the sale, and nobody knows what's going to happen.
Oh, wow.
Except the
Well, that's
lawyers
interesting.
will start making money. But there's an indication that B of A is one of the big five, and one of the ones that was forced to try to help people out from the, and most of the loans they got from Countrywide. So
Yeah.
here's an indication that they are trying to work to save houses from going into foreclosure or short sales.
And this is one of the reasons why most real estate experts are predicting no second wave of foreclosures, and that the so-called shadow inventory is not going to be dumped on the market because of reasons like this. There's an awful lot of banks are coming in with new programs like, quite frankly, relief of debt.
Well, in that case, though,
Cancellation
they
of debt.
must have had the first and the second.
I'm not sure
Probably.
that they probably did.
In that case, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess
otherwise
in
it
theory,
wouldn't benefit
it would
them.
exactly. But if you, I mean, potentially though, if you have a very large first, they could just lower, get rid of some of the debt on the first.
That was the idea, I thought, from the
Yeah.
government initially, to which would make sense. Let's get something to make sense that the banks will lose less
Less.
money than they would if it went into foreclosure.
Right. So
And so maybe actually after all this time, they're actually finding plans that make sense all the way around.
Well, and foreclosure is not inexpensive. It's cheap, and it's involves a lot of different processes, and there's costs, and certainly the cost of the homeowner losing their home. So, I mean, we talked a few weeks ago about how Chase was sending out letters unilaterally restructuring their loans and lowering interest rates.
They were being proactive. They weren't waiting
Exactly,
for people to
right.
come back.
Forced by the government.
Well, they're forced by the government, yeah.
Oh,
to do
okay.
a certain percentage
Right,
of
it's
their
all
loans.
political, right?
Yes.
Politically motivated, certainly, but not necessarily in a bad way. Because again, if it prevents people from being kicked out of their homes, that's not a bad thing. Of course, if you're a real estate investor waiting for more foreclosure inventory,
Then it
that's
is,
not
sure.
good news.
Yeah.
But again, hey, let's be
But it helps.
socially conscious a little bit here.
Well, it's funny. Years ago, my mom got a letter from whoever her first mortgage was, but to be proactive. But in that case, interest rates had gone up so much, and her interest rate was so low. They said, "Why don't you pay off your loan?"
Oh,
Oh, back when when interest rates were 12 and some
Yeah,
people had
yeah,
4.75.
You only have 6% interest.
Yeah.
Why don't you pay that off? We'll even give you a new pen if you pay it off early.
Oh gosh.
All right, guys. Tell you what, we're going to take a short break here. Okay, the second commercial break. Again, the trivia theme is, where did they come from? We all know Babe Ruth was traded from the Boston Red Sox to the Yankees, right?
Mm-hmm.
But which team did Ruth start with? It was not the Cleveland Spiders, by the way. That was Cy Young. It also was not the Brooklyn Bridegrooms. Oh, there's lots of weird teams. Yeah, the Louisville Colonels, the Cleveland Spiders, all kinds of crazy things. Okay.
Bridegrooms.
The Brooklyn Bridegrooms, and then they were the Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers, and then they shortened it to the Brooklyn Dodgers. Okay, but none of those answers are correct. Okay. This is a normal team.
Interesting.
And we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff of Pacific Private Money and Robert Chip of RPM Mortgage. Can tell the players without a scorecard. Okay, now our trivia question for the second commercial break was: we all know Babe Ruth was traded from the Boston Red Sox to the Yankees, but what team did Babe Ruth start with?
well, I'm a Baltimore boy, and so I think that probably Babe Ruth came from the Baltimore Orioles.
That
since
is
he was
correct.
a Baltimore boy himself.
Well done.
Very good. Not the Baltimore Ravens.
No,
No, they didn't have the Ravens back then.
It was the Baltimore Colts.
Yeah, that's true. I was a big Johnny Unitas fan.
I'm still enjoying what you talked about. The Dodgers, name Dodgers came from the Brooklyn
Trolley Dodgers, because the people used to
Dodgers.
dodge
We were
the
talking
trolleys.
about off the air about what was a trolley Dodger? I guess a jaywalker at that time.
Yeah, that's true.
Huh.
And I guess if they got hit, they were
fleet-footed trolley dodgers.
yes.
Sounds like a bird.
And I guess they weren't the Brooklyn roadkill. I guess they were able to get successful in avoiding it. Okay, we're going to get right into email time here. Mark, the email we received for you was, do you charge a fee for investing in your deeds of trust?
No.
Okay, next question.
Loans largely to real estate investors who can't get loans from banks. And those loans are just like a bank loan. They're secured by real estate. There's they're mostly first deeds of trust. Oftentimes they're purchase money first deeds of trust. They're funded by private individuals. So we've got actually quite a few, well over 100 private lenders in our database that are kind of our go-to people. They're Bay Area residents who have savings, and they like investing in loans secured by real estate. So they're basically funding a financial instrument, and it's known as in investing circles as trust deed investing. So and so what effectively trust deed investing really is you're funding a note secured by a instrument known as a deed of trust, which is really a mortgage. California's a deed of trust state. In California, they don't do mortgages, although people still refer to them as mortgages.
They're virtually the same.
They're virtually the same. So you're funding a loan that's secured by a mortgage on California property, and the question was, is there a fee for that? And what's really great, I think, for investors who take advantage of the ability to earn anywhere from 8 to 10% on average on their savings when they invest in a trust deed secured loan, is that it is a no-load investment. So at least it is for us. We do not charge our investors anything to invest in that loan, and in fact we collect a wire fee because the way our investors invest in a trust deed is they actually wire the money to the title company after the borrower has already signed all the loan docs. And in fact, our trust deed investors' names are on those notes and deeds of trust. So you become the lender, or your IRA, if you're using your IRA to fund the loan, your IRA would be named on the note and the deed of trust.